In the name of God. The Big Sports Day, a celebration of health and fitness.
It was a bright, sunny morning, and the local football pitch was alive with excitement for the annual multisport competition. Players from the town's football club were warming up, wearing their football boots and practicing to pass the ball smoothly between teammates. Some were also working on their ability to shoot accurately at the goal before their big fixture began. Young fans filled the stand, cheering loudly as they waited for the first match of the day to start. Parents held snacks and drinks, chatting happily while keeping an eye on their excited children. The smell of freshly cut grass mixed with the cool morning air, creating a perfect atmosphere for sports. Coaches gave last-minute advice to their teams, ensuring everyone was ready. The sound of laughter and friendly shouts echoed across the field. Everyone could feel the energy building as the event was about to begin. The referee blew his whistle sharply, signaling the start of the game, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Excited supporters clapped and shouted encouragement as the players sprinted across the field. Early in the match, a player made a rough tackle, causing the referee to immediately stop play. After a brief discussion, the referee decided to book the player, showing him a yellow card as a warning. Moments later, another foul occurred inside the penalty area, leading to a tense moment for both teams. The striker stepped forward confidently to take a penalty, his heart pounding as the goalkeeper prepared to dive. He struck the ball hard, but his powerful shot hit the crossbar with a loud clang, bouncing back into play. The crowd gasped in surprise, then cheered for the goalkeeper's luck. The game continued with both teams fighting hard to score the first goal. At halftime, with the score still tied at 0-0, the players gathered to rest and drink water. Coaches gave quick advice, pointing out areas where the team could improve in the second half. Nearby, a group of children played casually with a rugby ball, laughing as they tried to pass and catch it. When the game resumed, the second half started with even more energy than before. A well-placed corner kick led to an incredible header from one of the forwards, aiming straight for the goal. However, the goalkeeper made a spectacular save, leaping to tip the ball over the bar. A few minutes later, the linesman raised his flag for offside, stopping an attack just in time. Angry shouts came from the touchline, where frustrated coaches argued with the officials. Despite the tension, the match remained exciting for everyone watching. Meanwhile, at the adjacent running track, the athletics events were in full swing. Sprinters lined up for the 100 meters, adjusting their running shoes and focusing on the finish line. The starting gun fired, and they exploded forward, legs pumping as the crowd roared in support. Nearby, field athletes prepared for their events. One spun rapidly before launching the discus far into the air. Another practiced his approach for the long jump, measuring his steps carefully before sprinting down the runway. The high jump competition was especially thrilling, with athletes arching their bodies gracefully over the bar. In another area, competitors in the hammer throw event swung heavy metal balls before releasing them with impressive strength. Marathon runners in the 1500 meters paced themselves wisely, knowing endurance was key to victory. The atmosphere was electric, with cheers and applause for every participant. Over at the swimming pool, the water polo teams battled fiercely, splashing as they passed the ball and shot at the goal. In contrast, the diving competitions were a display of elegance, with diverse flipping and twisting before entering the water smoothly. Swimmers wearing sleek competition swimsuits practiced their flip turns, pushing off the walls with perfect timing. Children in the shallow end laughed and splashed, enjoying the fun side of swimming. A scuba diving demonstration in the deep end fascinated spectators, who watched through special underwater windows. Coaches shouted instructions from the sidelines, helping athletes refine their techniques. The smell of chlorine mixed with the fresh air, creating a familiar poolside atmosphere. Lifeguards kept a careful watch, ensuring everyone stayed safe while having fun. The swimming events were a perfect mix of competition and enjoyment. The fitness center nearby was packed with people of all ages working out. Some lifted weights, groaning as they pushed themselves to lift heavier loads. Others joined aerobics classes, moving energetically to upbeat music under the instructor's guidance. A personal trainer helped a client through a series of stretches, correcting their form to prevent injuries. In another room, the rhythmic sound of spinning bikes filled the air as cyclists pedaled hard, sweating under the dim lights. A group of elderly people participated in a gentle yoga session, improving their flexibility and balance. The smell of sweat and cleaning spray lingered in the air, a sign of hard work. Everyone, from beginners to experts, was focused on improving their fitness. The energy in the gym was motivating and full of positivity. At the tennis court, intense matches were taking place as players swung their tennis rackets with precision. The sound of the ball hitting the strings echoed across the courts with each powerful stroke. Next door, the squash court was alive with fast-paced action, the thwack of the squash ball bouncing rapidly off the walls. Players wearing protective goggles moved quickly, trying to outmaneuver each other. Nearby, a friendly badminton game was in progress, with players laughing as they chased the shuttlecock with badminton rackets. Spectators sat on benches, enjoying the skillful plays and occasional funny mistakes. Coaches gave tips between games, helping players improve their serves and footwork. The sun shone brightly, making the outdoor games even more enjoyable. Tennis, squash, and badminton provided fun for both players and watchers. The golf course offered a peaceful retreat from the more energetic sports, with players carefully selecting their golf clubs for each shot. The satisfying click of well-struck balls echoed across the green fairways as golfers practiced their swings. Older players shared tips with beginners, showing them how to hold the club correctly for better control. Nearby, a fishing competition was underway at the lake, where experienced anglers cast their fishing rods with practiced ease. Children watched in fascination as the competitors patiently waited for fish to bite, their lines floating quietly in the water. The occasional cheer erupted when someone reeled in an impressive catch, which was then measured and released back. Birds chirped in the trees surrounding the course, adding to the calm atmosphere. The combination of golf's precision and fishing's patience created a wonderfully relaxing experience. Many participants said this was their favorite part of the sports day. At the cricket ground, the satisfying crack of cricket bat meeting ball could be heard across the field as players took turns batting and bowling. Fielders ran energetically to chase down boundaries, their white uniforms getting grass stains as they dove to stop the ball. The umpire stood watchfully, making careful decisions about runs and outs as the traditional game unfolded. Older spectators reminisced about their own cricket-playing days while explaining the rules to curious children. The smell of freshly prepared tea and sandwiches from the clubhouse mixed with the scent of sun-warmed grass. Players wiped sweat from their brows as they took quick water breaks between overs, the summer sun beating down. Younger team members looked up to the more experienced players, trying to copy their techniques. The rhythmic nature of cricket, the bowler's run-up, the batter's stance, the fielder's ready position, created an almost musical flow to the game. It was a perfect display of teamwork, strategy, and British sporting tradition. As afternoon turned to evening, attention shifted to the indoor activities in the community center. The pool hall hosted intense snooker matches where players carefully lined up shots with their pool cues, calculating angles and spin. Spectators watched in respectful silence as competitors sank ball after ball, only breaking into applause for particularly impressive shots. Nearby, groups of friends enjoyed casual games of darts, throwing the sharp-pointed projectiles at circular targets on the wall. Laughter erupted when someone's dart landed completely off target, sticking in the wooden frame instead. The clinking of glasses from the small bar area mixed with the sounds of the games, creating a cozy pub atmosphere. Older participants shared stories of their youth when they used to play these games regularly. The warmth inside contrasted nicely with the cooling evening air outside. These traditional games proved just as popular as the more athletic events of the day. A board game tournament in the main hall featured everything from intense chess matches to lively games of backgammon. Chess players called checkmate triumphantly after executing clever strategies they'd been planning for several moves. The chessboard became a battlefield of wits as players sometimes chose to castle their kings for defensive positioning. At the backgammon tables, the rhythmic sound of dice rolling and pieces moving created a soothing background noise. Families played together, parents teaching children the rules of these classic games passed down through generations. The occasional groan of disappointment or shout of victory could be heard across the room. A particularly intense game between two elderly gentlemen drew a crowd of onlookers admiring their skill. The smell of polished wood from the game pieces mixed with the faint aroma of the hall's wooden floors. It was wonderful to see these traditional games bringing people of all ages together. Card players gathered around circular tables for poker and blackjack, their faces serious with concentration as they studied their hands. Experienced players expertly to shuffle the cards before dealing each new hand, their fingers moving with practiced ease. The atmosphere grew tense during important rounds as players calculated their odds before placing their bets. Laughter suddenly erupted when someone played the joker at just the right moment, completely changing the course of the game. Calls of your turn kept the games moving at a brisk pace as the evening progressed. Some players adopted dramatic poker faces, while others couldn't hide their excitement over good cards. Older participants shared stories of playing these games in their youth, when the rules were slightly different. The clinking of poker chips being stacked and restacked created a rhythmic background sound. These card games proved that you didn't need physical strength to enjoy competitive fun. The table football area saw fierce but friendly competitions as players spun the rods to control their miniature soccer players. Teams of two faced off, their hands moving rapidly to pass the tiny ball between their plastic players. Cheers erupted when someone scored an impressive goal after a series of quick passes. Nearby, groups took turns at 10-pin bowling, celebrating strikes with high fives and groaning at gutter balls. The crash of pins being knocked down echoed through the hall, followed by the mechanical sounds of the pins being reset. First-time bowlers received tips from more experienced players about how to hold and throw the heavy ball. The smell of the polished bowling lanes mixed with the faint scent of the cleaning products used on the balls. Bright scoreboards displayed everyone's progress, adding to the competitive but fun atmosphere. These indoor games provided perfect evening entertainment after a day of outdoor sports. As the day wound down, organizers tallied scores and prepared awards at the main registration desk. Athletes compared their results with friends, some celebrating their win while others graciously accepted their loss. The league table displayed on a large screen showed how close many competitions had been throughout the day. Several events had ended in a draw, proving how evenly matched many participants were. Volunteers circulated with clipboards, double-checking all the scores before the final announcements. Participants stretched tired muscles and sipped water, their faces flushed from a full day of activity. Children sat on the grass, suddenly realizing how exhausted they were after hours of nonstop play. The golden evening light cast long shadows across the fields where so much action had taken place. There was a wonderful sense of accomplishment in the air as everyone waited for the closing ceremony. The closing ceremony began with music and applause as all participants gathered on the main field. Special recognition went to the winners of major events, who received trophies and medals for their achievements. Those who had simply come to watch and support were also thanked for creating such a fantastic atmosphere. The organizers emphasized the Olympic Games-style spirit of fair play that had been shown throughout the day. Young children sat on parents' shoulders to get a better view of the stage, waving their little flags enthusiastically. Coaches beamed with pride as their team members were called up to receive their awards. The setting sun painted the sky in oranges and pinks, creating a beautiful backdrop for the final photos. Local journalists took pictures of the smiling faces for tomorrow's newspaper. It was the perfect ending to an unforgettable community event. For team sports like netball and handball, players exchanged jerseys after the final matches as tokens of friendship. The basketball teams, having played both at home and away matches throughout the season, finally saw their rivalry end in friendly handshakes. Younger players asked their idols for autographs, clutching pens and notebooks excitedly. Phone numbers and social media details were exchanged as new friendships were formed. Coaches reminded everyone about training schedules for the coming week, though everyone was ready for a rest first. The sound of zippers closing sports bags mixed with the chatter of post-game analysis. Some teams promised to meet for pizza later to continue celebrating together. The sense of camaraderie was strong, proving that sports could bring people together like nothing else. Even the most competitive players were now all smiles and laughter. Emerging sports had their moment in the spotlight too, with demonstrations of lacrosse and kickboxing drawing curious crowds. The fast-paced lacrosse game confused some spectators at first, but soon had them cheering for the impressive stick skills on display. Kickboxing participants showed controlled power in their demonstrations, their punches and kicks landing precisely on pads held by partners. Archery enthusiasts lined up to show off their precision with bows and arrows, the thud of arrows hitting targets satisfying to hear. The wrestling exhibition match became an unexpected highlight, with two local athletes demonstrating techniques while a commentator explained the moves. Children watched wide-eyed as these less common sports were performed at high levels. Many said they wanted to try these activities after seeing how exciting they could be. Coaches handed out flyers for new classes starting next month. It was wonderful to see these lesser-known sports getting attention and new potential participants. Adventurous sports weren't forgotten either, with a temporary climbing wall set up near the main field challenging participants' strength and agility. Safety harnesses clicked as climbers reached for the next colorful hold, their muscles straining with effort. Cheers erupted whenever someone made it to the top and rang the bell proudly. On the nearby river, canoeing races took place, with paddles dipping rhythmically into the calm water. Those interested in mountaineering could examine specialized equipment displays, ropes, carabiners, and climbing shoes, while talking to experienced guides. Children tried on miniature harnesses under careful supervision, giggling as they dangled slightly off the ground. The smell of the river mixed with the fresh air coming from the fields. Parents watched nervously as their kids attempted the climbing wall, ready with cameras to capture their achievements. These adventure activities added an exciting edge to the traditional sports day format. As stars began appearing in the evening sky, organizers made announcements about plans for next year's event. They mentioned possibly including American football demonstrations, which drew cheers from fans in the crowd. Traditional bowls competitions might be added for older participants who preferred less strenuous activities. The idea of go-karting races excited the younger attendees, who immediately started imagining the speed in competition. The mention of possible motor racing exhibitions made car enthusiasts in the crowd particularly happy. Organizers explained they wanted to make next year even bigger and better, with something for everyone. People started suggesting other sports they'd like to see included in future events. The buzz of conversation about next year's possibilities filled the air with excitement. It was clear this sports day would continue growing as a beloved community tradition. With the World Cup of Football playing on screens in the background, the community slowly began dispersing for the evening. Small groups lingered, still discussing their favorite moments from the day's competition. Children, now tired but happy, held their parents' hands as they walked home, occasionally yawning. Teenagers compared photos and videos they'd taken on their phones, already sharing them on social media. The cleanup crew began their work, gathering equipment and taking down signs with quiet efficiency. Coaches packed up their clipboards and whistles, mentally reviewing which players had shown particular promise. The smell of the evening barbecue still hung in the air where food stalls were now closing. Streetlights flickered on, casting pools of light on the now empty fields. The success of this Olympic Games-inspired day proved that sports truly had the power to bring people together in the spirit of healthy competition and camaraderie. Among the athletes, there was a strong emphasis on good health, with many maintaining a clean living lifestyle free from smoking and excessive drinking. Their robust physiques were clear evidence of years spent training, their muscles well-defined from constant exercise. Doctors at the event praised their commitment to proper nutrition, noting how it kept them strong and fit even as they aged. Many competitors thrived on the energy of the crowd, their fresh-faced appearances glowing with vitality and happiness. Some had such a natural radiance about them, their skin blooming with health from getting enough beauty sleep each night. Nutritionists pointed out how their wholesome diets contributed to their peak physical condition. Even older athletes moved with surprising agility, their bodies maintained through decades of discipline. Young children looked up to them as role models for healthy living. It was inspiring to see how dedication to wellness could pay off at every age. Some athletes followed strict lacto-vegetarianism, avoiding meat while ensuring they got enough protein from dairy products. Others carefully avoided fattening foods like fried snacks and sugary desserts that could slow them down. The event's nutritionists emphasized the importance of getting all essential vitamins, whether from food or supplements. Many competitors preferred lean sources of protein like chicken and fish, which provided energy without excess fat. The health food options available at the event stalls proved popular among these health-conscious participants. Experts explained how omega-3 fatty acids from fish and nuts helped with muscle recovery after intense workouts. Carbohydrate-rich whole foods like brown rice and whole grain bread provided lasting energy for endurance events. The smell of grilled vegetables and lean meats from the food stands made healthy eating seem delicious. It was clear that proper nutrition was just as important as training for these athletes' success. The event organizers provided excellent nourishment options, avoiding junk food entirely in favor of nutritious alternatives. Fresh fruit stands offered bananas and oranges for quick energy boosts between events. Organic options were clearly labeled for those who preferred food grown without pesticides. Nutritionists praised the high fiber content of the available meals, important for digestive health. Volunteers handed out samples of new healthful snack bars made with natural ingredients. The absence of greasy, heavy foods meant no one felt sluggish after eating. Even the drinks available were carefully selected: water, natural juices, and electrolyte replenishing sports drinks. Parents appreciated not having to say no to unhealthy treats constantly. The food offerings supported the event's overall message of wellness and vitality. A professional dietitian had a busy booth where she advised athletes on maintaining a balanced diet year-round. She warned against unwholesome choices like fast food that might seem convenient but lacked proper nutrition. Many young athletes were surprised to learn that some starchy foods could cause energy crashes during competitions. The dietitian used colorful charts to show how different foods affected digestion and energy levels. She emphasized that even healthy foods needed proper portion control to avoid overfeeding. Her demonstrations on reading nutrition labels drew crowds of interested participants. Children listened attentively as she explained how food literally became the energy for their playing. Many families left with new meal plan ideas and shopping lists. The dietitian's practical advice made healthy eating seem achievable for everyone. Many competitors avoided calorific drinks like soda, opting instead for water or light versions of their favorite beverages. Some followed intermittent fast routines, believing it improved their fitness and focus during training. The sturdy marathon runners particularly focused on getting enough omega-3 and fatty acids in their diets for joint health. Nutritionists explained how these nutrients helped reduce inflammation after long runs. Sprinters' diets emphasized quick energy carbohydrates before races and protein for muscle repair afterward. Each athlete had developed a personalized regimen through trial and error over years of training. Coaches emphasized that diet was as individual as training plans; what worked for one might not work for another. The variety of approaches showed there was no single right way to eat for performance. What mattered most was finding what made each person feel and perform their best. Some competitors had serious allergies requiring them to abstain from common ingredients like gluten or dairy. Their discipline in following an allergic-friendly diet while still performing at high levels was impressive. A young gymnast discussed how irritable bowel syndrome had once affected her performances dramatically. Through working with specialists, she developed a staple diet that eliminated trigger foods while providing all necessary nutrients. Now she felt alive and bouncing with energy at every practice. Her story showed how personalized nutrition could solve persistent health issues. Dietitians emphasized that food sensitivities were unique to each person and required careful tracking. Many attendees left determined to pay closer attention to how different foods made them feel. The event's food vendors had clearly labeled allergen information, making safe choices easy for everyone. The underfed and undernourished athletes of past years were now thriving thanks to better education. Coaches emphasized avoiding binge eating patterns that could follow periods of restriction. One boxer admitted to past struggles with blowout meals after weigh-ins but had since reformed. He now followed an abstemious approach, focusing on consistent portion control year-round. His discipline showed in his trim physique and endless energy during matches. Nutritionists praised his approach of small, frequent nutritious meals rather than feast or famine cycles. His story inspired younger athletes to develop sustainable habits early. The smell of his carefully prepared meal, grilled chicken with quinoa and vegetables, made his approach seem appealing. His success proved that moderation worked better than extremes for long-term performance. The event also highlighted the dangers of dehydrate conditions, with water stations at every venue. Medical staff explained how even mild dehydration could impair performance and concentration. Athletes were reminded to drink regularly, especially after intense exercise in the summer heat. A nutrition workshop debunked fad diets, promoting instead sustainable lifestyle changes. The dangers of anorexic behaviors were discussed openly but sensitively. Former sufferers shared how recovery had actually improved their athletic performance despite initial fears. Their visible health and strength now made powerful statements against dangerous diet culture. Parents listened attentively, wanting to protect their children from harmful food relationships. The balanced approach promoted at the event offered a healthy alternative to extreme measures. Many competitors credited their trim figures to consistent fitness routines rather than restrictive eating. Their healthy glow came from balanced lifestyles combining activity, nutrition, and rest. Parents learned to model healthy habits without creating greedy relationships with food in their children. Coaches emphasized the importance of being fully rested for optimal recovery and performance. A former T-TOL athlete shared how avoiding alcohol improved his sleep and stamina. His abstinence allowed him to train consistently without hangovers or skipped workouts. The event's food stalls avoided unwholesome options, instead serving healthful meals rich in minerals. Even the desserts offered were fruit-based or made with natural sweeteners. This consistent messaging about wellness permeated every aspect of the sports day. A vegan athlete explained how plant-based eating gave him steady energy without the crashes he used to experience. His meals centered around beans, lentils, and whole grains for complete protein. A lacto-ovo-vegetarianism follower praised how eggs and dairy provided all nutrients she needed without meat. Both agreed that proper planning was key to avoiding deficiencies on specialized diets. Coaches warned against overfeed during training periods, advocating instead for measured fuel. The risks of unwholesome eating patterns were clear when comparing long-term athlete development. The wholesome atmosphere extended beyond sports to promote overall wellness. Even spectators left inspired to adopt clean living habits they'd seen modeled all day. The connections between diet, activity, and vitality had never been clearer. As the day ended, athletes exchanged final tips on maintaining good health through all seasons. Some swore by strict beauty-sleep routines, never compromising on 8 hours. Others shared their favorite easily digestible pre-competition meals that never failed them. The sense of community among people committed to wellness was as strong as their competitive spirits. Children, now tired but happy, carried new water bottles and fruit instead of the usual junk food. Parents discussed how to maintain these positive habits at home after today's inspiration. Coaches packed up their equipment, satisfied with both the competition results and health messages shared. The golden sunset seemed symbolic of the bright futures these healthy habits could create. The big sports day had been about much more than winning, it celebrated how to thrive in sports and life through balanced self-care. The fitness center staff demonstrated proper warm-up techniques to prevent injuries before workouts. They showed how dynamic stretches increased flexibility and prepared muscles for exercise. Participants learned that skipping warm-ups could lead to painful strains or sprains. The trainers emphasized maintaining good form during every movement to maximize results. Proper breathing techniques were also explained, as many beginners held their breath during exertion. The smell of cleaning spray mixed with sweat as people worked hard on the equipment. Mirrors along the walls helped participants check their posture during exercises. Beginners received modifications to make movements easier until they built strength. The supportive atmosphere encouraged everyone to try their best without embarrassment. At the nutrition booth, experts explained how different foods provided energy for various sports. Endurance athletes needed more carbohydrates for long-lasting fuel, they explained. Strength trainers required additional protein to repair and build muscles after lifting weights. The dietitian passed around samples of healthful snacks that combined both nutrients perfectly. Children especially enjoyed tasting the homemade energy balls made from oats and nuts. Parents asked thoughtful questions about packing nutritious school lunches. The experts warned against unhealthy processed foods that offered empty calories. They emphasized that proper nutrition was the foundation for any athletic success. Many visitors left with recipe cards and meal planning guides. The swimming pool area offered free stroke technique clinics throughout the day. Experienced coaches broke down the arm movements for freestyle and backstroke. Children practiced kicking with swimsuits while holding onto pool noodles for support. Lifeguards constantly scanned the water to ensure everyone's safety during the busy event. The smell of chlorine brought back memories of swimming lessons for many parents. Advanced swimmers demonstrated flip turns that created minimal splash. Beginners learned how to float properly before attempting full strokes. The echoing shouts and splashes created an energetic atmosphere. By afternoon, many participants had noticeably improved their techniques. At the running track, sprint coaches taught proper starting block techniques. They explained how explosive power came from the legs and core working together. Middle distance runners practiced pacing strategies for the 1500 meters event. The high jump coach demonstrated the Fosbury flop technique that revolutionized the sport. Field event athletes learned proper discus throwing form to maximize distance safely. The hammer throw area was cordoned off for safety as heavy balls flew through the air. Volunteers constantly raked the long jump sandpit between attempts. The variety of athletics events showed how diverse track and field could be. Participants left with greater appreciation for this Olympic sport. The boxing ring hosted introductory classes for curious beginners. Coaches taught basic defensive stances and proper punching technique with boxing gloves. Participants learned that footwork was just as important as arm strength in this sport. The satisfying thud of gloves hitting pads echoed through the gym. Safety was constantly emphasized, with strict rules about controlled movements. Nearby, judo practitioners demonstrated how to fall safely to prevent injuries. The karate instructor showed powerful kicks that combined speed and precision. Many were surprised to learn these martial arts emphasize discipline and respect most of all. The variety of combat sports offered something for every interest and ability level. At the cycling area, mechanics offered free bike safety checks to all participants. They adjusted handlebars and gears while explaining proper maintenance routines. A workshop demonstrated how to fix a flat tire using a puncture repair kit. Children practiced riding in straight lines before attempting obstacle courses. Helmets were mandatory, with volunteers checking each one's fit carefully. The smell of rubber and grease mixed with the fresh outdoor air. Families enjoyed leisurely rides together around the designated paths. More experienced cyclists tested their skills on a challenging temporary course. The event successfully promoted cycling as both sport and transportation. The ice rink hosted learn-to-skate sessions for first-timers throughout the day. Nervous beginners clung to the sideboards before gaining confidence. Experienced skaters glided gracefully during the ice skating demonstrations. The ice hockey clinic taught basic puck handling with hockey sticks. Laughter erupted when someone fell safely on padded bottoms. Cold air turned cheeks rosy as participants worked up a sweat. Hot chocolate stands did brisk business as skaters took warming breaks. By afternoon, even the most hesitant beginners were moving independently. The joy of gliding on ice captivated people of all ages. The golf course putting green hosted friendly competitions for all skill levels. Children used oversized clubs to hit colorful balls toward cartoonish targets. Adults practiced their short game under the watchful eye of the club pro. The satisfying plop of balls dropping into cups created a rhythmic background sound. Volunteers patiently retrieved balls from the practice range. Golf etiquette was explained to newcomers: no talking during swings, repairing divots. The smell of freshly cut grass blended with the forest surrounding the course. Many participants discovered they enjoyed golf more than expected. The sport's reputation for being stuffy quickly disappeared with the fun atmosphere. At the cricket ground, coaches broke down the sport's basic rules for newcomers. They explained how the cricket bat was used differently than baseball bats. Children practiced the bowling motion without balls first to learn proper form. Fielding drills taught quick reflexes and accurate throwing techniques. The umpire demonstrated hand signals for different calls during matches. Parents were surprised to learn a single game could last multiple days at professional levels. The traditional white uniforms sparked discussions about the sport's long history. By the end of the clinic, even complete beginners understood the appeal of this strategic game. The board game area expanded throughout the day as more tables were added. Chess matches grew increasingly intense as players gained confidence. Backgammon players shook the doubling cube with dramatic flair. New friendships formed over shared laughter during cooperative games. The clatter of dice and shuffling cards created a cheerful background noise. Older participants taught younger generations classic games they'd enjoyed as children. The lack of screens and technology was refreshing for many families. Simple pleasures of face-to-face gameplay were rediscovered. The area stayed busy until the event's final moments. Card game tournaments grew more competitive as the day progressed. Poker players developed tells that opponents quickly learned to recognize. Blackjack dealers kept the games moving at a brisk but manageable pace. The Joker card created unexpected twists in casual games. Calls of your turn kept everyone engaged in the action. Experienced players shared strategies with newcomers generously. The variety of games offered something for every preference and skill level. Card shuffling became a sought-after skill that many practiced diligently. The social aspect proved just as valuable as the games themselves. The table football tournaments ran continuously with new challengers always welcome. Teams developed signature moves and defensive strategies. Spectators cheered particularly impressive saves or goals. Nearby, 10-pin bowling lanes were constantly occupied with eager participants. The crash of pins was nearly constant as games progressed rapidly. First-time bowlers celebrated spares as enthusiastically as strikes. The automated scoring systems eliminated math errors and kept games moving. Friendly rivalries developed between lanes throughout the afternoon. The combination of competition and casual fun was perfectly balanced. As the event neared its end, participants gathered for final group photos. Coaches congratulated their teams on both performance and sportsmanship. Volunteers began the massive cleanup process with surprising efficiency. Equipment was packed carefully for next year's event. Children exchanged contact information with new friends made during the day. Local reporters interviewed participants about their favorite moments. The setting sun cast long shadows across the now quiet fields. Exhaustion mixed with satisfaction was visible on every face. Plans were already being discussed for next year's even bigger event. The community spirit created would last long after the day ended. The Big Sports Day succeeded beyond anyone's expectations in promoting good health and community spirit. Participants left with new skills, friendships, and motivation to stay active. The importance of clean living and exercise had been demonstrated in countless ways. Children carried home healthy habits that could last lifetimes. Coaches discovered promising new talent across multiple sports. Volunteers felt pride in contributing to such a meaningful event. Local businesses gained new customers interested in sports equipment and health food. The shared experience created bonds between people of all ages and backgrounds. Most importantly, everyone understood that true wellness combined physical activity, proper nutrition, and joy. The event's legacy would inspire the community all year until they gathered again.
Like and subscribe if you would like.